was talking with David, right?
Okay, 7 o'clock. Meeting called to order. Start with a prayer. Lord, we gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only the best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with the best for our community and our fellow citizens. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Matt Zach, Tom Bergamini, Carter Dickerson.
Here.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Here.
Mike Darty.
Here.
Bob Mueller.
Here.
Okay. Next item is approval of the minutes, July 9th, 2018, council minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the council meeting of July 9, 2018.
Christie's made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Carter, second.
Tom Bergamini,
Yes.
Carter Dickerson,
Yes.
Christy Arlinghouse,
Yes.
Mike Darty,
Present, not voting?
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Okay. Next item, I don't think the lady is here. We'll move on. Fire authority report, Mike.
Everything's going well. There's nothing really to report after the last meeting. The last meeting was very quick. We appreciate the two cities paying their quarterly installment. The new ambulance is in and in operation. I just received a text from the chief a little time ago that I didn't notice. He was offering it tonight, so I have him here at the caucus meeting. The new ambulance will be here at the caucus meeting. Or you can certainly reach out to the chief if you want to see it. It's pretty much like any other ambulance, except the cot system is really good and will save people's backs.
Okay.
And none of us ever want to be in the backup.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which I had.
Is that it, Mike?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Finance, Matt's not here yet. Police reports.
Sergeant Hall here for Chief Allen. He apologized for not being here. He's got his daughter's soccer game, so he requested I give you guys a report. You guys have the our monthly police report in front of you.
Nice.
As you're perusing it, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Some highlights that I'll kind of point out is that we obviously, this is the first month that we've had taken over Crescent Springs. We've obviously thoroughly enjoyed taking on, have been well received. Everything's going really well for us. We've got 2 still in the academy right now. We've got 1 still in field training as it sits right now, which we'll hope to either push on and kind of move on. The 2 that are in FTO, that are in the academy are scheduled to get out in October. So they'll start their FTO training after that. But we've gotten numerous compliments and accolades, just saying thank you for being here and everything like that. So, and if there's anything else, let us know. But some things I just kind of want to point out is that between the 2 cities, we had 200 traffic stops. 139 of them were conducted in the city of Crescent Springs. We made a total of 19 arrests, and the arrests range from a warrant arrest, DUIs, and or trafficking charges or possession of controlled substance charges as such. The report is broken down, as you can tell, where the things are. There's maps included there where e-currency notices were pinpointed. There's a little plotter on there. You'll see a category that says NIBRs. NIBRs is basically our reporting that we use through the Kentucky State KY system, and that any crimes reported through a NIBRs as such, not traffic related, but you'll see where citations are written. You'll see where e-courtesy notices are written as well. You'll also notice where collisions were taken in accordance. We took a total of 33 traffic collisions over the month. 30 of those were in the city of Crescent Springs within those days. This past Wednesday, we definitely saw the increase in traffic collisions. This past Wednesday, we had our annual safety night, Millsville Safety Night Out. We had air care, the fire department, all kinds of canine demonstration, bunch of kids, cone ice and eateries and all kinds of things that came out. We had approximately 300 to 350 people in attendance, and it was a really good turnout. Had a great time. Over this past weekend, I saw a few of you guys up at the St. Joe's Festival. Again, it looked like a great turnout. It was our first year to be able to provide security for that. Police report, we didn't have any major incidents, just a couple juveniles being juvenile things, and we handled accordingly with that. Some of the things that we're getting ready to obviously push on and move forward to for next month is 9/11 Memorial is coming up, and I know that we have a special thing that we're going to set up for that. We have Tunnels to Tower 5K race, which is scheduled for September 22nd. We're handling all the safety and the traffic and accordance for that race. And then the big thing for us later in the month is Music Fest, which I know you guys are all very aware of that. So, and we're obviously in the planning stages on our side for that. But report also includes the training for each one of our officers that's conducted in the entire month. So how many hours they've done and for each month included in a total number of hours for training. So if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to try to answer and do the best that I can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Public Works, Dewey.
We're doing normal maintenance through the city, grass cutting, cleaning the drains. We changed the banner down on Bowville throughout the city. We've got a couple of streets repaired through Rigger, High Crossing, cul-de-sac. Crescent had a couple of spots on it, Ferncliff and Watkins. We'll be having Hazelwood, High Street, and Terry. They'll be doing that in a couple of weeks on Sunday night, so there's no traffic up there, and they won't have to delay anybody during the day. So they'll be overlaying all of that. We're still working up with the Department of Bathrooms and the Charters of Freedom project. We had the last two furnaces installed in the Public Works garage, so we're in good shape for winter. And we finished the concrete work with the fire department. Other than that, we're in good shape.
Have you been able to keep an eye on the area where we made the environmental project impact there at the park and make sure nothing's being able to sprout out too much without getting sprayed?
We sprayed it, but it's still coming back up.
Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing
Spray it
thing
again.
for a little while, but okay.
Try to keep spraying it, that's what we'll have to try to do.
Great, great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dewey. Next item is Events and Recreation Committee, April.
Music Fest to be held September 29th from 5 to 10:30. Sponsor letters were sent out to all the businesses in Crescent Springs and Villa Hills. We received about $1,300 less than last year about this time, but I do anticipate some more businesses coming through for us. Only 2 of the 7 sponsors that we've currently received money from have helped us out last year, so we've got a lot of new people. Just hoping some of the businesses that helped last year will come forward. Food trucks have been added this year so we can provide food for the anticipated crowd. We currently have 3 committed, but we still have room for some more. Fireworks will be sponsored by Crane Training and Certification, just like they did last year. Music will be by the Everyday People Band and Naked Karate Girls. We did not bring any of the kids' games back this year, but we will have bounce houses through Maxwell Jumps.
Okay, thank you, April. City Administrator, Rick.
The only thing I have to add is I'm going to talk about some of the ongoing construction and businesses coming into the city. Currently, as you know, Mr. Wessels has got an 84-house subdivision going in back on the Eubanks farm. Only received 1 complaint in reference to the construction of heavy equipment starting earlier than 7:15, 7:30. I've checked with other cities, other construction sites and sites that I'm personally aware of, and usually it's around 7:30 the construction starts moving. Once the streets are completed back there, you won't hear the rumble of the big equipment, but you'll hear the rap-pat-tat of the hammers. So it's probably going to go from worse to a little better. Not only do we have that, but we also have Panera Bread, and that particular construction project starting to move forward. A lot of the residents or the tenants in the buildings have moved out. They have applied for the permits. I believe they've got their demolition permit. Not 100% positive. Midlands property, on the Weber property, I know that right now the only thing that they have basically stated would be going in would be a Wendy's at this point. We have applied for a text amendment for once these two developments are completed, that if there's any residents or any properties that are left over that do not equal the total of 2 acres, the minimum development area, that they'll be able to develop them. However, it takes us to do an ordinance in 2 readings, and we're not quite ready for that to happen yet. On the Shank property where AutoZone and Sherwin-Williams is, they're getting ready to construct the second half of the Sherwin-Williams building. It will be exactly the same as the Sherwin-Williams, except it won't have the blue awning. The building construction will be the same. There'll be 2, possibly 3 tenants in there, one being an AT&T retail store. There is talk, which is strictly speculation at this point in time, that on lot 4, there might be a conditional use permit for a car wash to go on that. He is currently discussing the terms of the property with the people that want to put the car wash in. On the other side of town, up on Terry Lane, the property that we're hopefully going to abandon this evening by city ordinance, that plan, and I believe they have made application for a Board of Adjustment hearing to meet the setbacks, to get a variance in setbacks for the front yard setbacks for a car wash on that piece of property at Terry and Ritchie. Another piece of property is sold on Ritchie Street, which is next to Menninger, and the property that's going to go there, business, will be a model home office building for a builder that has built 2 houses on Terry Lane. They're nice houses. He's a builder. He wants to put a model office there and run his offices off that particular lot on Ritchie Street. The condominiums that would go onto the Winterberg property, 3 Springs is, the Winterberg property is actually vacated at this time. So I would imagine they're going to start demolition and moving dirt and construction on that particular project. So right now we have a lot of different things going on. There's other things that are going on that you really can't state publicly because they're speculation. And until there's actually something confirmed that I can report on, I would be speaking out of school to report that. But take my word, there's a lot of things happening in Crescent Springs. Construction's booming, and there's a lot of pieces of property being looked at.
Have you heard of anybody expressing interest in the old Outback?
No. And the reason, I think the reason for that is there was a lease on the old Outback, and even though they moved out, they were still paying, they still had it leased. Now, when that lease is up, they'll be able to start turning over then.
So this home builder that wants to build an office on Terry, or on Ritchie, that is going to be a home, one of his model homes?
It's going to be his model home, but it have offices in it.
And those are all mostly houses on Ritchie,
Correct.
right? So it'll fit in. So, but did you bring up 2 competing car washes are considering
Yes.
coming in? What was the lot 4? What is lot 4?
What is lot 4?
Yeah.
It's empty.
Which one? Which lot is
It'd
it?
be the one on Queen City, right directly behind AutoZone.
Okay, so it's not part of the Shank proper. It's across the street.
That's part of the Shank property.
But it's behind AutoZone.
Behind AutoZone to the
Gotcha.
side of Sherwin-Williams.
Would it, as far as you know, would that just be like a 1-bay pull-through or a do-it-yourself?
It's an automatic car wash. It won't be bays. You just drive through. It's the same concept that's going up at Terry and Ritchie.
Same owner or?
No, different owner.
So are they gonna have like vacuums outside
Vacuums outside,
and just one bay and?
one bay where you drive through,
Mhm.
put your money in, it does everything, and you come around to the bay.
Front of our office, but I guess the same.
I was gonna say, are they aware of the history of the car wash that is now Mike's Glass?
Yes,
All right.
they've all been made well aware of it, and I believe
Okay.
both of them were aware
The
of
last
each
thing
other.
we need are vacant car washes in the
Yeah.
city, but, okay.
Yeah.
And I asked about that, but it is a permitted use.
Well, I think it'd be different, that if you can just put your money in and drive through and
Drive
get
through.
it done.
I agree.
I think there were some management problems with the car wash up there. I got to know the guy. He owned a lot of other property, and this was just the business to get himself out of the house because his wife got tired of him sitting around.
And not only
That's what he
this,
told me.
and not only
There were
that,
days he was open, and there were days he wasn't open.
and this one was a little bit difficult to get to, the current one that we have.
Yeah.
Where these other two, if you go to a fast food restaurant, you're right there.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Rip. Next item, mayor's report. Rip covered part of the Eubanks items that I was going to cover, but there are a couple others. John Eubanks had a blight problem, but he sold his house and trailer up there to the developer.
Correct.
So that took care of that.
They added an additional piece onto the original
Yeah.
acreage?
Yeah, the additional acreage didn't include the house and so forth, and
On
my
the corner of
Yeah.
Sierra and Crescent Ridge.
Right.
Yeah.
And he had it in his purchase agreement that a lot of the property was supposed to be cleaned up, and it wasn't being done. He had actually till August the 9th to get it clean. I was over there, PDS was over there, and at the last minute, I received a phone call from South Africa, from Bernie, that Mr. Eubanks had made an agreement and signed a contract to sell his residence and the vacant lot with a mound of dirt on Crescent Ridge to the Wessels as part of that project.
Do you know what they intend to do with the extra?
Same thing, they're
acreage?
doing houses,
More, so is it going from 84 to? how many?
85 probably. It's, could be 86, I really don't know what the number is, but it'd be residential. And the one lot next door is residential, it's just never been constructed on.
And is there still the potential that there's a second large piece that would develop in the future?
That's correct, he's getting ready to get to
I'm getting
that.
ready to say something
Great.
about that. I received a call from Teresa Eubanks that offered to sell the 50 acres to the city. Although it will be a costly 50 acres, they want to keep it green. But I asked her what the asking price was, and she said she really didn't know, that she was going to call her attorney. So, I mean, but I just wanted to make you aware that there's an offer to sell the 50 acres to the city.
But to keep it green.
Yes, but to keep it green.
So
What's
is-
that land like? Is it
It's rolling. It would make a nice park,
like
but a
a
I think it was-
very expensive
Sanctuary.
park.
Yeah, I think it's flatter than
What?
than
I've
the
got
other
it all for
60
you.
acres.
Buy my land.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. The other thing is that the Dolby Connector Bridge, there was talk about that they wanted to take that out of the plan, but according to Greg's sketch, it's going to stay in the plan. So,
Four of the committee members agreed to keep it in the plan, comprehensive plan.
also, I want to bring before council the fact that April has completed her certified clerk 3-year program, and she is now a certified clerk. So
She's now legal.
Real quickly back to Eubanks and Dulwich. So how does that impact the
It
Wessels?
doesn't really impact back to us because there's nothing that we can really do to make them make that connection. The problem that you have with the Dulwick Bridge is you could apply, if you could apply for state funds, it would have to connect to state routes. And the problem you have, you don't have that. Dulwick Road is, but there's nothing on this side except for Collins Road. And Meadowwood doesn't count. And so there's no way really to connect it. If it could connect and tie in to a state highway, you could possibly get some state, federal funding through OKI or something. But you can't. The estimated proposal for that would be approximately $12 million, 12 to 14 million, I've heard. While you mentioned that, they also suggested, since that is basically undoable, to redo Eubanks Road. The state's proposed cost estimate for Eubanks Road was $14 million. So I met with Sean Blake from SD1, Chief District Engineer for Sanitation Department, and I said, we need some help on Eubanks Road. And I said, the only connection that we have to get there is through the subdivision and down Meadowwood and through the subdivision. And I says, or back through Villa Hills. And I said, it's almost impossible, you're gonna be building 85 homes there. If the other 50 acres develops, you're talking another 85 homes. And I said, we've got way too much traffic now. And I said, is there any way we could get some help on Eubanks Road? Because I basically told him that I think they caused a problem to begin with, which when they redid the storm drainage in Crestview Hills and Lakeside Park and all this, currently there's over 1,700 acres of water, not water, but 1,700 acres of land that all the stormwater drains down Eubanks Road.
It's always been like that.
It's always been like that. But that's a lot of water, but it's the first time we've been able to put a acreage upon it. His suggestion was that we create a committee of, get the county involved, SD1 involved, Corps engineers or water conservation or somebody, and ourselves, and try to make application for a grant to buy up the houses on Eubanks and make that completely down through there a wetland, and then try to bring a new road in back through Wood Hill or Enid Avenue where we have that paper alleyway, Tom, back through that way. And put a coalition of people together to address the problem made up of Villa Hills, us and county and everybody else, because it is a major problem. And they agree that it is. And I told them we've had one death down in the creek, and we don't need any more, and the road floods. There's only a small section of that that's in the floodplain. So with that being said, eventually we need to sit down and look at what we can do to put a committee together to address these issues. And also probably we should involve the developer to some point. They have people in their company that's on these boards and everything else, so it's probably what we need to do. Also, I discussed with him the problem we have behind the city building, that the catch basin up on Overlook just daylights onto the property, and it comes down and ends up in our parking lot in the wintertime and makes it a complete sheet of ice. He stated that they would pay half the bill to put that underground and tie into our existing storm drainage. So I've asked Greg Sketch to look at it, to prepare a cost estimate on that, to see what kind of dollars we're talking about, and maybe to solve that problem, because it, as Dewey will probably testify, it's an ice skating rink out here in the wintertime.
Good.
Have we ever had any situation on Eubanks where we've had heavy, heavy rains where the creek overflowed
Oh, yes.
onto the road into the people's yards.
Not into their yards, but onto their property. At the very end of it, I've had to come over here on a weekend and ask Dewey and call and to put horses up to block the road off, because before you get to the Barnes property, which is the old dog kennel,
Right.
playpen kennels, it gets up over the road there, and you get off the road there, you end up down at the river. It's pretty bad. I've actually had a video of it, I have somewhere, of that water. But if they ever opened it up to and declare another disaster like we've had in the past for flood damage, then we can make application for hazard mitigation through FEMA and possibly buy some of them properties up. But yes, it does flood, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Okay. The other item is the mayor's group meeting is Saturday out at Ellesmere. And that's all I have. Next item is old business. Anybody got anything on old business?
George made reference to the Panera project. I will tell council that the development agreement has been signed by everybody. The mayor signed it a couple weeks ago, and that property they finally closed at the end of July. They signed it then, so that's why they're moving forward.
Great.
Have we received any money from Erlanger?
No.
No,
Mike
Where does that
transferred.
stand?
it is a topic of discussion at this point.
Topic of
And I don't think
discussion.
I've reached a point where I will come back and say, we need to do this or we need to do that. Hopefully,
So it's still contentious.
it is still contentious.
Okay. Next is new business. First reading of ordinance 2018-10, vacating 5,000 square foot parcel on Ritchie Avenue.
Ordinance 2018-10, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, vacating 5,000 square foot parcel on Ritchie Avenue, more or less. Whereas the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky has received an offer to purchase from Eddie Kern property located on Ritchie Avenue, which contains 5,000 square feet, more or less, and which is more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A. And the city being desirous of selling its interest in the previously described real estate as described in the attached Exhibit A, and the fair market value having been determined to be $45,000, with the purchase of said real estate subject to the condition that the purchaser, Eddie Kern, his heirs, successors, and assigns, also acquires the adjoining parcel of property. And whereas the City Council and the Mayor have determined that vacating said right-of-way is in the best interest of the residents of the City of Crescent Springs, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, Section 1, that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute any and all necessary documents to convey and abandon the excess right-of-way for the sum of $45,000 to Eddie Kern, his heirs, successors, and assigns of all right, title, and interest in the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, to the 5,000 square feet, more or less, property described on Ritchie Avenue and as more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A. This ordinance may be published by a summary, and attached to that is the same legal description that we had previously approved in the municipal order, which I think was here somewhere. 7, I believe, 7.
Okay. Any discussion or questions on that? Moving on.
This ordinance, you want to do the ordinance, or you want to wait for Matt? Because he's going to have to, I assume, make a comment.
Well, go to municipal order and we'll come back to
Municipal Order 2018-8, the municipal order of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, amending Municipal Order 2018-1 to further authorize the mayor to execute necessary documents to receive title to real estate from Robert and Michelle Marshall with an additional restriction that the city will not convey or use the property for a 20-year period other than as a park or as a conservation area. Whereas Robert and Michelle Marshall own real estate located at 734 Riverwatch Drive, 738 Riverwatch Drive, and 1779 Highwater Road, all said property located in Crescent Springs, Kentucky. And whereas the Marshalls wish to donate the aforesaid real estate to the city of Crescent Springs, and whereas the city wishes to accept the real estate in order to turn said undeveloped land into a park or conservation area for the benefit of the residents of the city of Crescent Springs, and whereas the Marshalls have requested and the city agrees that the aforementioned real estate shall remain as either a park or as a conservation area for the use of the residents of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, and whereas the city council and mayor executed municipal order 2018-1 in which the city agrees to receive the aforementioned real estate. Now therefore be it ordained by the mayor and the city council of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized to accept the real estate located at and commonly known as 734 Riverwatch Drive, 738 Riverwatch Drive, and 1779 Highwater Road, all property being located in the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, on behalf of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky. Said property shall be used as a park or a conservation area for a period of 20 years. The mayor is authorized to execute any and all necessary documents, including a deed, to accept said real estate on behalf of the city. I will say that in addition to this, I have spoken as late as this afternoon with the Marshalls Council, who's Paul Markgraf, who has no issue with this language. The only thing the Marshalls request, in addition to all this, is that if the city is desirous of naming the area, they would like to be consulted. It is not a requirement, as in this municipal order. But I said, well, I will convey that. I don't know there's any present intent to do that, but we will so advise if and when that happens. So.
Okay, any discussion on municipal order 2018 regarding the donation of the Marshall property? Okay. Call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt municipal order 2018-8.
Bob's made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Carter second.
Bob Mueller,
Yes.
Mike Dirty,
Yes.
Christie Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Carter Dickerson.
Yes.
Tom Bergamini.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
You could go there with the one with
Yes.
for the tax rate.
That's
not here.
we
State.
All right. Okay. Next is first reading of ordinance 2018-11, setting real and personal property rates for 2018.
And what I'll make the statement for Matt, reference basically when we approved our budget, we agreed to take the compensating rate. Tax rate wasn't set at that point in time. She just received it. So all we're doing is setting the tax rate at currently what we agreed to do on the compensating rate. We're not taking the +4. So this year it would be the compensating rate based on the tax percentages that he's going to give you.
Ordinance 2018-11, an ordinance of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, providing for the assessment of real estate and personal tangible property within the corporate limits of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, and levying an ad valorem tax on each $100 of assessed valuation of said property in the city for the fiscal year 2018, 2019, and specifying the purpose for which the tax is levied. Be it ordained by the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, Section 1, an ad valorem tax is hereby assessed and levied for the fiscal year 2018, 2019 against all real estate within the corporate limits of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky at the rate of $0.219 on each $100 evaluation is assessed January 1st, 2018, and against all tangible personal property at the rate of $0.174 on each $100 evaluation as assessed January 1, 2018, to be collected as provided by law in the existing ordinances of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, period. City tax bills are due October 31st, 2018. The ad valorem, Section 2, the ad valorem tax is levied to pay the general cost of carrying on the business of the government of the city as provided in the adopted budget. Section 3, an ordinance or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are to the extent of such conflict, if any, hereby repealed.
Okay, any discussion?
Mike, in the past, you had added a provision that if the tax bill wasn't paid, you had to collect it. You had the right to collect attorney's fees. Is there any reason why that was taken out?
Not that I know of. I didn't see that in last year's, but let me look at that.
Yeah, I believe you're right, Tom.
And if so, I will add that back up for the second reading.
Okay. Ma'am, would you like to address council on any issue? I'm talking to you, yes.
You won.
About what?
I didn't,
He didn't know if you had anything or not.
if you had anything you wanted to address council on.
Actually, I came just to sort of see what's going on. I moved to Crescent Springs from Villa Hills.
Oh, okay.
Great, we got out of the fray there. I am concerned coming in and out of Eden Dairy Drive onto Bromley Crescent Springs Road. If there's any thought of putting one of those mirrors where you can see who's coming around the bend,
I
or
can
a stop
address that.
sign there.
Where you come out of Edenberry, ma'am, the State Highway Department is now responsible for all of Anderson Road from Buttermilk Pike all the way to Bromley.
Oh,
And they are in the design phase and the surveying phase of widening that road, taking some curbs out, replacing some bridges and so forth. So the state is looking at that. They're also looking at the entrance to Edenberry and all of that right now. There is a set of plans.
oh.
If you would like to leave your phone number with me, I could get someone from Kenton County to call you to tell you exactly what their plans are for that particular entrance. If you'll just see me right after the meeting, I'd be happy to get that information for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Finance meeting is August 15th. The recreation meeting is August 22nd. And the caucus meeting is August 27th.
I had one issue to bring up. I had the misfortune a couple weeks ago to observe an overdose of heroin at a pickup for a daycare camp. Mom OD'd in the car when she was picking her kids up. Tom and I had some dialogue about possibly at the Music Fest setting up a table from one of the agencies involved in the opioid epidemic, trying to prevent it, and have literature passed out. Does anybody have any concerns about that?
No, I can get all the literature and information because I was on the committee that went around and went door to door.
Remember that, yes.
And I can get that information and we can get a booth set up. The problem is getting people to work on it.
Well, I was thinking perhaps, Tom, do you know of any, like, that you're on that council?
Well, I'm on the NAMI Northern Kentucky Board, but there's a whole slew of entities now that are dealing with the opioid crisis. Probably the person to contact would be the fiscal court, because
Yeah, I can
they're
get that
trying
to
take-
John Stan.
And
My-
could they do the volunteering? The
You're gonna ask
Sure.
us from somebody from the city to do it. Is there anybody from council that will work it?
Merrick Craig, not Merrick Craig, what's his name?
I would just think if there was
Jason.
somebody that was more familiar with the epidemic,
Jason
I
Craig.
wouldn't
Right.
I wouldn't feel comfortable answering someone's
You
questions.
just hand out pamphlets is what they do.
Well, but if
No,
somebody
it
had a
probably would
question.
be, Jason Cray, who's with the Kenton County Jail, he's running the drug treatment program at the jail. He would probably be the person most knowledgeable as to the nature of the problem, the efforts to stem the problem. But yeah, I think getting as much information out there as to the fact that the problem is there and it's not across the river, it's here too. And just, we haven't had that kind of situation happen here, but it's just a matter of time. I agree, I think it's probably a prudent idea.
If we can't get someone that, you know, is an expert in the field, then just to be there to pass it out, I'll stay at that booth.
Yeah, I talked to
That's
John
impressive.
Stans, he would probably be the one to make the connection.
But if we had someone there that could answer some questions, I think.
Well, I'm
that would
sure
be a good
there's
idea.
people from the fire department that,
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
familiar with it, aren't you?
I just what the chief tells me, the chief would be the person to speak to on that.
Well,
I'll
maybe-
see what I can do to get the handouts and so forth. I mean, it is a problem statewide, and it's
Right.
really heavy in northern Kentucky. And
Yeah,
there's
I
people
mean,
you don't even know that.
It's no problem putting the booth there. It's the manpower to man it.
Well, that's the reason why I asked, you know, like if Tom knew of an agency that's
Right.
involved
That
in
would be
it,
the
that's
best-
already doing some
That would
outreach.
be the best situation.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a good idea, Christine.
See what we can do.
okay.
Seeing a little 8-year-old girl cry because she's thinking her mother's dying, when she could have, that's etched in your mind
Well, it's
forever.
affected everybody in one way or another,
Yeah.
all over.
All right. Anybody have any other items they wanted to bring up? Call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, please.
Christie's made the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Carter second.
Nice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll show you where it is.
Meeting's adjourned.
Stipulate